Namaskaraha and welcome to our next session on the yogic life. So what I wanted to talk first is this, there is a shloka over here. Suti vibhinnaha smritayaha vibhinnaha naikamunir yasya matam na bhinnam dharmasya tattvam nihitam guhayam mahajano yena gataha saha pantaha. So shruti vibhinnaha smritayaha vibhinnaha न एकः मुनिः यस्य मतं न भिन्नं धर्मस्य तत्त्वं निहितं गुहायां महाजनः येन गतः सः पन्थाः. So essentially what this is talking about is that there are many shrutis, and there are many shrutis. Shruti in the sense we can include the Vedas and other scriptures as well, and there are many smritis as well, right? There are many smritis, there are many shrutis, and there are many munis and so-called munis, and each muni's matam. Here muni means an intellectual who's a jnani, a jada jnani, and each of their mata is different, right? Somebody says something and they want to prove their point, and somebody else says something and they want to prove their point, right? Each person wants to prove his superiority over the other. But the matter of the fact is that the dharma, right, the secret of dharma actually lies hidden in the I feeling. It is hidden in the I feeling. Mahajanah yena gataha saha pantaha. So great people who have seen the truth in whatever marga they have gone, and that is the path that we should take, right? Because the secret of dharma is actually the secret of dharma, that is the path to attain that infinite supreme entity. That path is hidden in the I feeling, and great people, right, the great bhaktas, those people have actually understood the path, and they have taken that path, and so we also should actually follow that path to attain that supreme entity, right? So what this is actually talking about is that, who is a muni, right? Generally in this world we have like so many so-called munis. They are a lot of intellectuals, right? They give their own theories, their own gospels, their own texts, and it is all in Samskrita, in a flowery language, in different languages, right? There are many munis, and each of them have their own view. But actually, who is a muni? We need to understand who is a muni. Munihi na munihi dugdha balakah, munihi samleena manasah. Munihi dugdha balakah nasti samleena manasah. So muni is not somebody who's a beginner, is not somebody who's drinking milk. That is not a muni. Who is a muni? Muni is somebody who knows the secret of dharma. That is muni is a person whose mind is concentrated to a point, and it has reached the pinnacle, it has reached that supreme, it is in touch with that supreme consciousness, right? When the mind has reached that pinnacle and comes in contact with that supreme consciousness, such a person is called as a muni. And muni is not an intellectual. He is not a person who knows a lot, who has read a lot, and who knows a lot of things, and who actually argues with the other person, saying that my matam is more superior than your matam, right? Who engage in vad vivad. Those are not the munis, right? Because at the end of the day, their point, their purpose is, the so-called munis, their purpose is not to know the truth, but their purpose is to prove their point, is to prove that they are superior. So essentially they're giving a lot of importance to their I feeling, right, to their ahankara. So they want to show superior. Such a person is not a muni. So actually, who is a muni? Muni is a person who has who has this ekagrata, and whose only goal is Brahma, right? And he through sadhana comes in contact with that supreme consciousness. Such a person is called as the muni. So mahajano yena gatah sa pantah, right? So this is not theory. The path that the great people have taken is not just theory. It is not a theory to prove somebody else wrong, but it is a true path. And that path is essentially, what is that path? That path is essentially going within. We should seek within, we should go within, and through sadhana, and try to come in contact with that supreme entity. And that is what the great people have done, right? We should not follow the so-called panditas, the so-called intellectuals. They are all theoreticians, right? So they're na ekah munihi yasya matam na bhinnam. There is not one muni whose matam is not different, right? Every muni has his own matam. He is having his own view, right? But what we should do, how do we know, how do we attain that dharma, the manava dharma, is through going inward, is understanding that this Paramapurusha is lying hidden in that I feeling, right? So is essentially going in and surrendering your I to that big I, right? That is what is the the secret of attaining the dharma. And that is not possible without bhakti, right? So if somebody has a lot of jnanam, right, because of having vidya, somebody can become very ghamandi. They can become very proud of their jnanam. So each person has a specialty, right? He specializes in a particular field of knowledge, and he has a lot of pride in it. And he what is his goal is to prove that he is correct. That is what becomes his goal, instead of finding out the truth, right? Just to maintain their own specialty, they give a lot of emphasis on that, and as a result glorify their ego, right? And in such a case, right, you have the jnana, you have the vidya, but you don't have bhakti. There is no devotion, right? Such a knowledge is actually harmful, right? Where there is knowledge but no bhakti, then those people, what they do is they want to try to establish their specialities, and in that process establishing the speciality becomes more important than actually finding out the truth, right? So whatever they think in their mind, they try to prove that point, and to prove that point they will go to any extent, right? Which is essentially glorifying their ahankara. So that is not the way for going forward spiritually. So na ekah munihi yasya matam na bhinnam, right? So more and more and more knowledge, more and more knowledge without the bhakti bhava ultimately leads to these so-called munis, who are intellectuals trying to establish their specialities, right? So there is no effort to find out the truth, right? Such people, are they assets or liabilities to the society? Such people actually turn out to be liability to the society. They are not an asset, they are liability to the society. The reason for that is that they are not interested in finding the truth. They are interested in glorifying their ego, trying to prove that they are right. So what is the shruti? Shruti is any scripture, any Vedas, any of it, right? So any scripture written based on Vedas, right? So where we have so many people who have written so many things, right? So, and actually these so many things, each person says something different. One person says something and somebody else says something, like that. We have so many different things being written, right? And also we have so many smritis, right? The codes of contact, and so many things we have in the society, right? Different scriptures, different social codes, different religions, different so many things, right? And people are confused as to what to follow, what not to follow. Somebody says you should do this, somebody says you should not do that. So what to follow? Should I follow this or should I follow that? Right? So there is a lot of confusion, and as a result people engaged in dogmatic processes, right? Dogmatic rituals. Then what happens? Ultimately their mind gets degraded. It's not taking them forward. So it is important to understand that dharmasya tattvam nihitam is hidden. Dharmasya tattvam nihitam asti. It is hidden in the guha, guha, where it is hidden in that I feeling that everybody has. So everybody who has a human body and a mind can tap into that, can go inward, can do sadhana and come in contact with that supreme entity. And for that, what is needed is only bhakti bhava. You need to have that bhakti bhava, you need to have that love in your heart for that supreme entity, right? That is the way in which you can go. Even if you have a little bit of bhakti, wee bit of bhakti, right, that will take you forward, that will take you forward. On the other hand, if you have ghamand, if you have that ahankara in your heart, that I know everything, I know everything and I am superior to somebody else, when you have that ahankara, then it's not going to take you forward at all. So it actually results in degradation of your mind, and such people become a liability to the society. They are not an asset but a liability to the society. So it is very important to understand this shloka. Suti vibhinnaha smritayah vibhinnaha naikamunihi yasya matam na bhinnam dharmasya tattvam nihitam guhayam mahajano yena gatah sah pantaha. So that is what it is. So so the great people, mahajanaha is the great people who have gone inwards, those great rishis who have gone inward and come in contact. They've come in contact with the supreme entity. They have made their mind so focused and so concentrated on the Brahma that they have become Brahma. They have come in contact with that, come in touch with that supreme consciousness. So whatever path that they have taken, that is the path that we should follow. And that path is not a theory. It is not a theory that is written in a book, but it is a practical science. It is a practical science, and that is the path that everybody should take. And that is what this shloka is actually saying. The guha means, it doesn't mean a cave in the Himalayas, right? Dharmasya tattvam nihitam guhayam means it doesn't mean a cave in the Himalayas, but it is inside you, right? Inside you, in your I feeling. You have to go internally, only then you will be able to attain that supreme entity. It is not by doing anything external. It is not by doing different kinds of rituals or doing different kinds of things, but it is actually going inwards, sitting in sadhana and going inwards. That is the only way to come in contact with that supreme entity. And for that, what you need to have is, you need to have love in your heart for that supreme entity. You need to have love for that Parama Purusha. You need to have the bhakti bhava. In the bhakti, your mind should get melted, right? The dravikaranam, your mind should be melted in the bhakti of Parama Purusha, right? It should just be like a butter melting, right? And if you keep the butter in the sun, how it melts, like that your heart should melt for that supreme entity. When your heart melts for the supreme entity, then there is nothing else that you need in this world. You don't need anything. You don't need to go here and there. You don't need to run here and there. You don't need to ask for anything, right? That kind of bhakti is called as the Shuddha Bhakti. Shuddha Bhakti is Ragatmika Bhakti. Such a bhakta doesn't ask for anything. He doesn't ask for anything. He is not asking for any laukika things. He's not asking for any vastu. He's not asking for anything, right, in this world. Nor he is asking for ananda. He is not having bhakti for Parama Purusha. He doesn't have love for Parama Purusha just because he is getting ananda. No. That also, he is not even asking for anything. Why is he doing the bhakti? Because he wants to please that supreme entity. That is the only goal, right? He sees Brahma everywhere. He becomes like the Brahma, right? His only goal is to please that supreme entity, to give happiness to that supreme entity. That is what such a person is called as a gopaha. Who is a gopaha? Who is a gopalakaha? Right? Yaha gopayati saha gopaha. One who is pleasing. Gopayati, it means one who is pleasing that supreme entity. Such a person is called a gopaha. Right? So we understand, in different books it is written that gopaha means somebody who is grazing cows. No, it is not that. Right? That is what is the rudi arthaha that people understand. But that's not the meaning of gopaha. Gopaha means is a person who is engaged in the pursuit of pleasing that supreme entity, who is doing sadhana and trying to please that supreme entity. Such a person, he gives ananda to Parama Purusha. He gives ananda to Parama Purusha. Parama Purusha is Ananda Swarupa. This person, through the Bhakti Bhava, is giving that ananda to Parama Purusha. When he is giving ananda to Parama Purusha, that supreme entity is very pleased with such a bhakta, and where such a bhakta is, the supreme entity is also there. right? So when you're giving ananda to Paramapurusha is so pleased with that bhakta that where that bhakta is, Paramapurusha also resides there, right? So he's not residing anywhere else. He's residing in the hearts of the bhaktas, right? The sadhakas. So that is what this shloka is talking about. So now we can go to our pravachan, to our this one. So I actually wanted to clarify one thing for Pushpalata Bhagini. So the question that you had asked last week about, if the mind gets degraded a lot, and if you do a lot of kukarma in this life, a human being does a lot of bad things and has a lot of papa, and let's say that in next life he takes the birth of an animal, right? So then will he experience the karma pala in that life, right, in the life of animal? So I want to actually clarify that, so that when people actually degenerate themselves and get reborn as like animals or plants or stones or whatever, and right, so do they burn their samskaras when they take the rebirth as plants, animals, bricks or stone or whatever, right, or an insect? So the answer to that question is that they do burn their samskaras. How do they burn their samskaras is the difficulties that they suffer as animals or plants in that life, right? They have to go through a lot of struggle. That because of as a result of that struggle, they burn some of the samskaras that they have accumulated in the human life. Even though it is true that only human beings get karma pala, they are only the ones who are earning the papa and punya, right? They are the ones who are getting the reaction to every action that they're performing, and they also earn the karma pala, right, the papa and punya. But when they take the rebirth, because their mind has degenerated, and when they take the rebirth as something like a plant or animal, so the thing is that they do not earn any new karma pala then, right? For whatever action that they are doing, they don't earn any new karma pala, but whatever karma pala, whatever sanskaras, that is the baggage of the reaction to the potential reaction to the past actions, that baggage, from that baggage, whatever suffering they go through in the next life as animals or plants, those samskaras do get burnt, right? If there are any remaining samskaras left, that when they take rebirth, let's say they take rebirth as human beings, and in that life they will again get the karma pala. They will get karma pala again from that baggage, right? So like for instance, a dog, right, he was a human being in the past life and he did an original action, and he became a dog in the next life, right? He was a human in the previous life and he became a dog in the next life. That dog is different from a dog who has come straight from 6 o'clock via the evolutionary ladder, right? So a dog who comes from the evolutionary ladder, like from 6 o'clock, the stone get the life emerges, and then slowly life, from single cell organisms it evolves, and finally he gets the life of a dog, let's say, right? So such a dog is different from a dog who is born as a dog in the next janma, who is a human being in the previous janma and he is a dog in the next janma. That dog is different from a dog who comes straight from 6 o'clock, right? So like there's a lot of people who do like bad karma, and let's say they become a brick in the next life, right? So that brick is different from a big brick which came from the panchabhutas, through the panchabhutas, right? So those who have degenerated themselves, right, and they reborn, they go through all sorts of difficulties, right? Tremendous difficulties. Like even if you look at a dog, there are two dogs, like let's say that one dog has a lot of skin disease and it's suffering a lot, right? Or its one leg is actually it has wounded its leg and its leg is not there, it's standing on 3 legs, right? It's limping. And then there is another dog which is having all the 4 legs, right? So how come there are two dogs, one is going through so much of suffering and the other is not going through that kind of suffering? It is because of in the human life, whatever sanskaras, whatever the reactions from the past original actions, for that this dog is incurring the karma pala, right? Is experiencing the karma pala, and as a result it's suffering, right? So then what happens is that those who degenerate themselves go through these difficulties in various forms, and then and in that process they again take birth as human life. When they take birth as human life, then they become better by going through this all the sufferings and struggles. They become better than what they were last time as a human, right? So they may still degenerate themselves again, but it will not be as drastic as the previous time. It won't be as bad as the previous time, right? So, and in that process of taking rebirth again and again, and some may become ready to live life as a real human, right? To follow the human dharma. Some may become ready because of going through the struggle again and again and again. Some of them they become more evolved. Like next time when they take birth as a human being, then they are much better than how they were in the prior life, right? So then at that point in time, if their inner eyes open, then they may get the opportunity to seek that supreme entity, right? So unlike the human beings, animals do not do any original action because they do not have free will. Only human beings have the free will, right? We have the swatantra ichcha, so we have the option of following the animal dharma or the manava dharma, right? So we do the original action and we incur the sanskaras, right? We accumulate this one potential reactions to the original action, right? And when that reaction will actually happen is actually determined by prakriti. So that reaction may happen in this life, or it may happen in the next life, or even a following life. So whenever it has to happen, whether you're a human being or an animal, you will experience some of those this one karma pala from that baggage, right? So that is the animals will not do any original action. So when in the animal life, whatever action they do, for that action they will not incur any sanskara. They won't incur any sanskara. They won't have any karma pala that is resulting from such an action, right? So but as a human being, if you do any action, original action, then you will have a reaction for every action, right? And they do have to experience those reactions, right? People do all sorts of crazy things, right? They do negative things, they do bad things, right? As a result of that, their mind degenerates to a great extent, and in the next life they may be born as plants, animals, stones, whatever, and they go through all sorts of sufferings and difficulties, and which are due to the the accumulated sanskaras from the prior birth as human beings. So in the next life, as animals or plants or stone, they may not be able to burn all the samskaras which they earned as a human being, but they may be able to burn some of them, right? So such that when they take the next life as a human being, then they will be different. They will be much more evolved compared to how they were the prior time that they took birth as human beings. So even in the next life, they may or may not be ready to pursue the path of sadhana, right? But definitely they will be much better than how they were in the past, right? Because they've actually burnt a lot of their samskaras, right? So the thing is that as human beings, when you incur the samskaras, you can experience the karma pala even when you take birth as an animal or a plant. But when you take birth as an animal or a plant, then you don't incur any new samskaras. You don't create any new samskaras. For any action that you do, you don't create any new samskaras, but then you do have to go through the suffering, right? Struggle, you do have to go through the struggle. But and through the process of struggle, your mind gets there is an upward movement in the mind, right? There is a positive movement in the mind, and the mind becomes more advanced, and it becomes more sukshma. And when you get born as a human being, you get an opportunity for moving forward also, right? So that is the point that I wanted to clarify. The main point over here is that plants and animals are incapable of doing original actions, karma, right? so plants and animals do experience the karma pala from the actions that they did when they were human beings. So the only thing that is not there is that when they are an animal or a plant, whatever action that they do, they don't incur any samskaras from that. That is the point I wanted to clarify. Pushpalata Bhagini, is it clear?
Very clear. That's what I had in my mind. Now I got it clear.
Yes. Okay. Okay. So now we'll actually go back to our pravachan. So this is what we were actually talking in the prior class, that every action that we do, we have to there is a reaction to that action. So the mind is like a rubber ball, right? So if there is a depression in the rubber ball, then the rubber ball will have to get back to the original shape. It has to get back to the original shape, right? So to get back to the original shape, there is a potential, opposite movement, right? So that the depression is removed and it gets back to the original shape. The same way, when the mind does any action, there is a depression in the mind. There is some kind of deformation in the mind, and the mind has to get back to the original shape, and that happens through experiencing the reaction, experiencing the karma pala. So this is for both the mental action and physical action. So when human being, he can do a mental action or a physical action, right? Whatever the action may be, he does incur a karma pala for every action, small or big, right? He incurs a karma pala, right? So okay, so far we had actually gone, and I also now clarified about the karma pala for animals, right? So now we'll actually go forward. So, and also I said that, even, the so-called sannyasis also, right, who have like, left the world and gone to the Himalayas, they also cannot say that they are not doing action. Everybody is actually doing action. Everybody is doing action, good or bad. No human being can exist without doing action, even for a minute. So right up to the moment of the death, right, they have to do the action, and they have to experience the karma pala for their actions, whether it is the action that they did in this life or the past life, right? They will have to experience the karma pala. So now we'll actually go to the next paragraph. I'm going to project my screen. Okay, it's recording. Can you see my screen, Bhagini?
Bhagini, just does not come. Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
This is the next page, actually. Karma pala has to be experienced, that we saw. What happens?
How will a dead person? We have not read this.
That's yes. This is what the following paragraph. I stopped with that last time.
Read.
Okay, I'll read.
Karma pala has to be experienced.
Karma pala has to be experienced for every action, whether a good deed or an evil one. Human beings cannot exist without action, even for a moment, and so they keep on working right up to the moment of their death. This spares no one from experiencing the reactions after death. Only when those who work will experience the reactions, karma pala, no one else can be substituted to experience them. How will a dead person whose physical body has been buried or burned be able to experience the reaction? This is what the following paragraph. explains. That's what. The karma pala, whether it is a good one or a bad one, is to be experienced by the persons themselves who are doing the actions, who are performing the actions. Whether they are doing some action or whether they are sitting simply, the mind also performs some action which may be good or bad, or they might be performing some actions, which physical actions also, which might be good or bad. And they will be doing it till the point they are going to die. So now, when the person is dead, the body is either burnt or buried. How will they experience the reactions when after their death? So that is what we have to see now. That's what explained in this paragraph.
Yes, Bhagini, nicely said. So every action has a reaction. Every action will have a reaction, and nobody can escape that, right? So here the point is that you go on accumulating the potential reactions to those actions up to the time of death. It never stops, and nobody should think that they can get to the time of death without getting the the reactions, right? So till the time of the death, as long as we have this body, we will be experiencing the karma pala, and we will be continuing to do the actions, and we'll be continuing to accumulate more samskaras, right? So it's not, there is no exception for anybody. Everybody has to go through this process. So only a sadhaka who is engaged in the yoganishta jivanam, he who is operating as a yantra for Paramapurusha, right, who is operating as hands and legs for Paramapurusha, who is in Brahma Bhava throughout 24 hours of the day, such a person will not accumulate new samskaras. Otherwise everybody, and such a person will be burning the samskaras, right? He will, as a process of the sadhana, through the process of sadhana, he will be burning the samskaras, right? But otherwise, for a normal human being, everybody has to experience the good or bad reactions, whatever they may be, right? It doesn't matter, right? You may not experience somebody may do something bad or good, and they may not experience the reaction the next day or the next month, but eventually in that life or the next life they will incur the karma pala. So nobody can escape. Nobody can say that I will do whatever I will do, and I will not get the karma pala. It's not like that. That is, everybody has to incur the karma pala for the good or bad action. So go forward. Bhagini, go ahead.
Unit consciousness, Atman, is immortal. It is always unchanged. In the course of its movement from crude to subtle, unit consciousness is reflected completely in the human body, made of the 5 rudimental factors created by the cosmic consciousness. Bhuma Purusha and Prakriti, consciousness and its principles are inseparable, and hence with unit consciousness, Purusha taking shelter in the human body, its principle Prakriti is also there. The presence of Prakriti casts her influence on unit consciousness and provides it with mind, which is an outcome of unit consciousness, and Prakriti will exist as long as these two, Purusha and Prakriti, exist. Unit consciousness and its principle, unit Purusha and Prakriti, are inseparable counterparts of each other. Hence, mind will exist with unit consciousness only. It is in mind only that one gets the feeling of I, and as long as mind exists, the feeling of I will also be there. Since unit consciousness is immortal, the mind which is linked to it will not die either, and with mind the feeling of I will also be there. It will thus be seen that the feeling of I also permeates the physical body when unit consciousness, Atman, takes shelter in a human body. So, the unit consciousness is immortal, the Atman. It is called the Atman, and it is immortal and which remains unchanged. In the course of its movement, from crude to subtle, unit consciousness is reflected completely in the human body, made of the 5 factors. The human body is made up of 5 factors created by the cosmic consciousness. So, the Purusha and Prakriti, consciousness and its principle are inseparable, and hence the unit consciousness shelter in the human body. The unit consciousness, that is the Purusha, taking its principle along with it, shelter in the human body with the principle, actually the Prakriti. So the presence of the Prakriti casts her influence on the unit consciousness and provide it with a mind. So the mind, now which is the outcome of the unit consciousness and Prakriti, along, that is the mind along with this Prakriti and the unit consciousness, the Purusha, exist. The unit consciousness and its principle are again inseparable in the mind, and they are the counterparts of each other. So the mind will get the feeling of I, and as long as mind exists, the feeling of I also will exist. So since this unit consciousness is immortal, the mind which is linked to this. So even if the human body dies, the mind which is linked to the unit consciousness will not die, and that feeling of I will also be there. And this will see that when that feeling of I enters the body, that I also permeates the physical body. So the Atman takes shelter using the human body, but this mind is not dying. It is just taking the body only as a shelter. So when the body is burnt or buried, the mind is still existing with that I feeling, unit conscious, which permeates somewhere else.
Yes, Bhagini, nicely said. Yeah, that is what it is. So last paragraph we ended that, a person who's dead and his physical body has been buried or burnt, what happens to his, karmapala, right? So this paragraph is talking about, it is giving an explanation about what happens at the time of death, right? So in the prior paragraph we were discussing that every action has to have a reaction, and that reaction may be experienced right away or it might be experienced later on in the next life, right? The human beings are taking actions throughout their whole life, so there is innumerable reactions that are accumulating, right? So now we're going to look at the process of what happens with all those accumulated samskaras, reactions at the time of death. What happens to that baggage, right? So we see that that in this world there are 2 things which are anadi and ananta, which is without a beginning and end. That is the Purusha, consciousness, and Prakriti, right? That the Prakriti which has these 3 gunas. So Shiva Shaktyatmakam Brahma, Shaktihi sa Shivasya Shaktihi. So in Brahma there are 2 components, Prakriti and Purusha, right? And in human being, one portion of that Purusha is there in human being, and that is called as the Jivatma, the portion of Purusha's Amsha, that is the Jivatma, that is the unit consciousness. And Prakriti, which accompanies it is the Prakriti accompanies the cosmic Purusha, right? So there is there is this cosmic Prakriti, but there is no unit Prakriti, right? So just like we have for the consciousness, we have Purusha, and we have the Jivatma, Paramapurusha and Jivatma. Like that, we don't have cosmic Prakriti and unit Prakriti. We don't have like that. The cosmic Prakriti is the one, right? So that cosmic Prakriti is there with the unit consciousness, with the Jivatma also. And a mind is a natural outcome. And that mind, right, has to be expressed clearly, right? That the mind is not getting created at the level of human beings. So in the Srishti Chakra, if you see, cosmic mind, due to the influence of Prakriti, the cosmic mind was created from 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock, right? At 6 o'clock, due to the influence of the the Tamoguna of Prakriti on the Kshiti Tattva, when life emerges, at that point it is not that new mind is getting created. Whatever cosmic mind that was already created, that is what is getting divided, right? Because the division is possible at the Kshiti Tattva level. That is where that cosmic mind is getting divided, right? So mind is not getting created at the level of human being. The mind was already created, so, and that mind which is already created at 3 o'clock, that is what is getting manifested. It is getting Prakatikaranam at 6 o'clock when the Jiva life, when the life emerges. So when you reach the point of Kshiti Tattva, there you have the potentiality of separating the items, right? Just like you can separate the pebbles or stones, which you cannot do with fire or water or air or space. So when you reach the Kshiti Tattva, at that point in time, right, you have the potentiality for division, right? So you have a separate container, and because of that, means like you can have a separate stone, separate piece of wood. So that is a separate physical container which remains separate, and because of that, it has a potential for unit mind and unit consciousness, right? So those things actually do exist in potential form in the Kshiti Tattva, and they get manifested under congenial conditions, which are like the temperature, oxygen, water, etc. And there, when you get the emergence of single cell being from stone. So as soon as you get the emergence of single cell being, that single cell being has a rudimentary mind, and it is accompanied by Jivatma. So when you have the first life that emerges, the single celled organism, that also has a mind, but the mind is a very preliminary mind, not an advanced mind. And so nor the Jivatma is created here at Kshiti Tattva, nor the mind is created. It already exists, right? Purusha and Prakriti already existed. So the mind got created from the stage of 12 o'clock to 3 o'clock, right? The Bhumaman, cosmic mind, got created. And that becomes, the mind itself becomes crudified and becomes Panchabhutas. And again, it is getting manifested when life emerges from stone. So there is not something that is new that is being created, but it is again the re-emergence of the mind. But this time it is being able to get separated. It is able to come out as a separate mind, right? It is not directly the cosmic mind, but it is a unit mind which was created at the cosmic mind level, became crudified into a stone, and then became separate, and then one piece of it is a unit mind, right? And it has an associated portion of Atma also, right? This Atma is Anadi Ananta, but the mind is not Anadi Ananta. The mind is not the unit mind is not Anadi Ananta. The mind got created from 12 o'clock to 3 o'clock in the Srishti Chakra, and then emerged again as unit mind. This unit mind is not Anadi Ananta, right? At 6 o'clock, when it is moving in the direction of 7 o'clock. So then, due to the struggle, right, due to the struggle, clash and cohesion, there is a gradual development of the jiva from single cell to multi-celled creature, to ultimately you get plants, fish, animals, right? You get all of that. So then at 10 o'clock we have the human being. So at 10 o'clock when you get the human body, and then there is a mind also, and this mind and atma, this jivatma, have been traveling together for ages, right, in different forms, in different life forms. So the unit mind and the jivatma that emerged at 6 o'clock, they travel together. So like this we have different jivatmas and different unit minds, and they are a pair, and they travel together as worm, as mosquitoes, as cat, a dog, monkey, whatever, as human being, right? So this point is very, very clear. We have to understand that this mind is not created. It was already there. Jivatma and the mind was already there as Purusha and Prakriti, as cosmic mind. Only that they get separated into units at the Kshiti Tattva level, right? And this Jivatma and the mind have now been placed into different containers, right? There is a potentiality for separation at the Kshiti Tattva level. So now you have these separate containers, and this Jivatma and the mind, they are getting attached to each of the separate units, right? So this Jivatma and this Purusha and Prakriti, they are Anadi and Anta, right? This Purusha is nothing different from the Jivatma, and the Prakriti is the cosmic Prakriti. Right? The cosmic Prakriti is what is within the human body, and it is associated with the mind, right? So as long as Jivatma is there, right, it is going to be associated with the mind, right? So now the physical body may die. The physical body may die, right? When a person, gets maranam, the body dies. The Panchabhuta, it goes back to the Panchabhutas, but the Jivatma and the mind, it remains. Jivatma and the mind does not die. So at the time of the unit consciousness leaving the body, right, Prakriti, which is inseparable from the unit consciousness, that also leaves the body. The mind also leaves the body. Mind is a creation of Prakriti, so that also leaves the body along with the Jivatma, and this results in the death of the physical body, right? The death of the physical body. Thus the death of the physical body does not mean it is the death of the Jivatma and the mind. It only means it's the death of the physical body, the Panchabhutas. And the unit consciousness, the Jivatma and the mind, will leave the body because they had taken shelter in that body, right? So it will actually leave the body, and it will be waiting, it will be hanging, and until it gets the next body, right? So that is what this paragraph is talking about. So Bhagini, do you want to take the next one?
No, I have a doubt in this.
Yeah.
Just one. Now you are saying that once the body is dead, whether burnt or buried, it gives the unit mind, gives the body along with the Prakriti.
Along with Jivatma.
Along with the Jivatma, rather. So does that go and join? As you said, it is hanging. Okay. It doesn't join with that cosmic mind.
No, it doesn't join with the cosmic mind.
It
no,
doesn't
it is separate.
Okay.
No, it doesn't get merged.
Once the cosmic mind is metamorphosed or into unit, once the cosmic consciousness is metamorphosed into unit consciousness, it keeps remaining itself. It never goes to the cosmic consciousness again. So,
yeah, unless somebody gets mukti moksha, the unit mind and the Jivatma, they hang. They become bodiless, and they're waiting for Prakriti to assign them to an appropriate body, so that they can experience the karma palas. So until Prakriti finds the appropriate body, so we are going to see all of that in the following paragraph. But until Prakriti finds the appropriate body and assigns the Jivatma and the unit mind, so they will be hanging, right? They will be bodiless. And when Prakriti assigns, then the Jivatma and the mind attaches to that body, whatever kind of body it might be, and they experience the karma pala.
Okay.
So the karma pala remains with that mind. The karma pala remains with the mind.
Okay. Right, understood.
So
only when there is a moksha, only that the unique consciousness which is released will go back to the cosmic consciousness. Until then, it will be having a chakra here itself.
Yeah, it will be the Janma Marana chakra. So the Jivatma never merges with Parama Purusha, the Nirguna Purusha, nor the unit mind merges with the cosmic mind.
Okay. This is a small paragraph. I'll just read it. I think I'll have an answer also to my question. At the time of unit consciousness leaving the body, Prakriti, which is an inseparable counterpart of unit consciousness, also leaves the body. Mind, which is a creation of Prakriti, will naturally leave the body with her. This results in the death of the physical body. Thus, death does not mean the death of the unit consciousness and mind. It only means the death of the physical body. Unit consciousness, Atman, and mind merely leave the physical body, which they are earlier adopted as a shelter. This leads to the question of what makes unit consciousness give up the physical body. Okay, so the question is different also, correct? Okay, now when the unit consciousness is leaving the body, the Prakriti, which is an inseparable counterpart, so Prakriti is not separate from that. It also leaves the body. So mind, which is a creation of the Prakriti, will naturally leave the body, and the body will cease to exist. And so this is the death. This is defined as the death of the physical body. So thus the death, which is a death of the physical body, does not mean death to the mind or the unit consciousness. It only means the death of the physical body, which has to be either buried or burned. Now this unit consciousness, that is the Atman, and the mind merely leave the physical body, which they adopted as a shelter. Now this leads to the question, now what happens? That's what happens, or why did that unit consciousness leave that physical body first, and what happens to it? We have to see. I think that will follow. Those questions will follow. Why did it give up that physical shelter when it had done? Okay. That is explained in this paragraph.
Bhagini, nicely said. So essentially Prakriti is there everywhere, right? Prakriti is present in everything, and right, so Prakriti is there managing, what happens in the stone. There is no place where Prakriti is not there, and there is no place where Purusha is not there. Purusha is also there. The stone is also made up of Purusha, but there is a particular form which those are existing in a living being, right? And when you have Purusha in a living being, then it is in a particular form called Jivatma. That Jivatma, and actually the entire living being, right? If you have a mosquito, the body of mosquito is also made of Purusha, but there is a particular component of existence of that mosquito which is called as Jivatma, and that is the Shuddha Purusha. And there is another component of living being, whether it is a mosquito or a human being, that is called as Prana. So that Prana is what leaves the body, right? Is what is being referred to as Prakriti here, is really Prana. So that Prana is leaving, and when Prana is leaving, the Jivatma is also leaving, right? The mind also leaves the physical body when it no longer has the Prana, the Pancha Pranas, right? So the Prana leaves the body and the mind also leaves the body, and that is the sense that we're talking about here. So so the question comes is like, why can't the physical body continue until the body gets moksha, right? So the explanation is that in the human body, jivatma and mind is there, and they have been designed to experience the karma pala, right? Only that much of karma pala that they can experience in a particular life, right? After that, what happens? The body also deteriorates. And the body can no longer be in existence, and at that point in time the body undergoes death, and the jivatma and the mind leaves the body, right? So okay, that is what it is. So this is actually the will of prakriti and cosmic consciousness in the creation, right? That they have to move in this pattern. So this is actually the law of prakriti that has to be followed, right? And the change in the human body is inevitable. Nobody can avoid it. The body deteriorates. What body I had yesterday is not the same body I have today, right? So the body is continuously changing, and this is the law of prakriti. And to bring about this change, right, death is necessary. Assuming that unit consciousness would continue in one body as its shelter till it merged with the cosmic consciousness, we are faced with the possibility of like one body continuing for millions and millions of years as a chain of actions and reactions may not free the unit consciousness earlier than that, right? So according to the laws of prakriti, the creation has to pass from subtle to crude, right? With the passage of time, in due course, human being also will have to give up their body, and that is inevitable. Nobody can avoid it, right? The human body is made of the panchabhutas, which are in different stages of creation, right? So according to the pattern of the creation and laws of prakriti, all these bhutas also will evolve into innumerable fully reflected consciousness with innumerable human bodies as their shelters, right? So with that process being said, right, so the body has to undergo death at some point in time, and then in that process it does not mean the death of the jivatma and the mind. The jivatma and the mind, they don't die, so they will leave the body when the body has deteriorated, and they will just wait for getting the next body, right? So without death, then the body has to continue with the same physical body. The unit consciousness also will have to continue with the same body. Because of the reactions of actions, right, and creating more reactions, this body may not be in a good state, and the aim of the Srishti Chakra is to move from the crude to subtle, right? And if you continue with the same body, then it will be difficult for the human beings to attain the whole purpose of creation, right? So it is inevitable that the human body has to die, right? There is no choice. Human body has to die. So that is what is being said over here. Okay. Any questions so far?
No. Yeah.
Okay.
So the spirits of us and others are all around us, basically. That's what you are saying.
What is it, Bhagini? What is it?
Spirits of us and others are all around us. And when it's
Spirit of us, what do you mean by spirit? You mean consciousness?
Yes.
Consciousness is yeah. You mean the jivatma? The jivatma is in me, and the jivatma is in you as well.
We are alive. Yeah, when we are alive. But
yeah, when we are alive.
It's around us.
Yes.
Spirits of our ancestors are around us.
Yeah. If they have not gotten a human body, then they're still hanging. Okay.
But
so
the rebirth of that unit consciousness is not fully explained. No,
The
I mean,
rebirth.
not here. I'm talking about in what should I say? In scriptures, is it?
We'll be looking about it over here, but the rebirth is like how Prakriti decides. It's up to Prakriti to decide what is the right kind of body, and when until that right kind of body it becomes available for that jivatma to for that jivatma and mind to experience the karma pala, they will be hanging, right? So for instance, if the karma pala is that you should lose father at the age of 8 or 10, right, then jivatma and mind will take shelter in such a body where the father also has a similar kind of karma pala where he has to die at a particular age, and that coincides with the time the son is 8 years old, right? So there are a lot of ifs and buts there, and which Prakriti decides. There are a lot of permutations, combinations which have to be determined, and Prakriti decides. And how she decides, we don't know. How she decides is beyond our knowledge.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, Bhagini. अस्तु तर्हि धन्यवादः, नमस्कारः.
धन्यवादः.
धन्यवादः.